Bum 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 bum.
Well, now here's my question for everyone who's listening right now, especially you, Raymond. Can you hear me? Do I seem clear?
Positively effervescent, Troy.
I know, right? Gene's saying hi. Is anyone here? I don't know what that means. Let's turn this down a little bit. Oh, good. Yes, yes. Okay, great. Everyone does. And you don't hear, I don't sound muffled or any of that nonsense that we were handling or dealing with in the past.
It means that ball gag's not working at all.
That's right. It's a bad mix, ball gag and podcasting. Well, hey, listen, it's Spooky Scary Skeletons time here at Mumamo, and I'm I'd say probably your best friend. I mean, if I really had to think about it, probably your best friend. This is Buddy Troy, and I'm hanging out today with, as I always do on a Monday, with my two dear friends. Here they are. Hey, guys.
Hi, everybody.
It's Alex and it's Steve, and you may know Alex as a skeleton in disguise exposed here on this very episode, and Steve Kenson, who's the Mutants and Master Daddy. Today we're talking about spooky, scary skeletons. We're talking about unleashing the undead, their many facets on your players in your campaign. And look at this. Gerald, yep, everybody hears me. Nice. Happy Mumamo says, a pook. ST Terran Marine says, hello, everyone. Boo Mamo says Nate Robbins. Not sure what that means.
That means it's spooky. It's ghost.
It's spooky. It's
Boo Mamo.
Right.
I thought he was booing me. Maybe.
No. It's pretty clever, Nate. Good job.
Good job, Nate. That one works. ST Terran Marine. First off, undead can be either good or bad. That's a good point.
That's very true.
Yeah, we can have a good flavored undead character. Our historical sort of fictional accounts account for that.
Yeah,
we do. That's pretty good.
We have super heroic ghosts and vampires and other undead in the Earth Prime universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lantern Jack's rocking around, haunting places.
Right? Yeah. Simon says, would someone who obsesses over the undead be called a spookaboo?
I love that.
Perhaps.
I love that for us very much.
I do. I like that. I also, Claude says skelemetricton. Okay.
It's like an electrician, but for skeletons. It's a
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, how about this? SC Terra Marine says there's undead from Native American legend who died from starvation. While they like to prank others by scaring the daylights out of travelers, they are friendly to animals and help lost travelers get to safety so they won't suffer the same fate they did.
Yeah, there are tons of great undead folklore, either good or evil. It's all over.
Yeah. I mean, a metric ton, skelemetric ton. Okay, sure.
Oh, okay.
So
we're gonna roll that back and stick with skelemetrician.
Yeah, I like skelemetrician.
Yeah. An example of the heroic revenant is the crow. Yeah. Says Raymond.
As everyone knows, though, a group of skeletons is called a xylophone.
Right.
That is very true. As many an animated film of yesteryear would have me believe. Hey, guess who gets a real life hero point?
I think that would be Raymond for coming up with this subject.
That's it. That's exactly right. I did miss you. Temp says, did you miss me? I suggest a Penangalan. A Penangalan?
Yes, a rare kind of undead that involves a head that can separate from its body, dragging all of its internal organs behind it.
Oh.
That's get permission from your players first.
Yeah.
That
on many levels is a deep cut.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question that I've got.
Hindu, Steve? Is that where that's Hindu mythology? Hinduism?
I think it's actually not the Philippines, Indonesian maybe, but I'm not 100% sure.
There is a question on the floor. Nate Robbins asks, "What is a ghost's favorite hot dog?" Survey says a
Halloweenies.
Halloweeny.
Yes.
A Halloweeny. All right, so let's see. Gene says, "Is it okay to use ghosts? Is it okay to use ghosts? I got an idea for a Phantom Knight who possesses anyone who holds his sword." Oh yeah,
100%. It's okay to
Yes.
use ghosts.
Very
Yeah.
much
Use-
like the Knight of Malta character that can be found in Atlas of Earth Prime, who is a ghost who possesses various hosts in order to fight evil.
Mhm.
aha.
Yeah,
I
ghosts
like it.
are awesome to throw in everywhere. I mean, I'm spoiled for ghosts because I'm running 2 games right now where I have characters who speak to ghosts. So
Mhm.
they're great for investigations. They're great for comedy relief. If you like, I have a funny ghost who is a Donner Party miner prospector who just like looks at people and tries to eat them spectrally, and only the ghost people can see them.
I like. Well, here's something. Here's a fun fact from Sean Holland. And the Penaglan have to soak in vinegar to shrink their organs back so they can fit it back into their bodies.
Mhm.
That's a lot
true.
of work.
It's
A
true.
heck of a lot of work. All right, so yeah, we're talking about the undead. This is this show. Our next program, and those of you who are you are subscribed to the main calendar, it'll show you all this information. I'll provide a link here in a bit. We're going to be doing a haunted house.
Mhm.
Do we want to do any work in this to bring us a couple of these Penangalangalounds, these pickled organ ghosts, or maybe we just want to stick to the, I don't know. I don't want to make it too grandiose, but I get
Yeah.
excited on Halloween.
I think we'll figure that out next week. We'll
Mhm.
figure
All right,
it out.
I love it.
Agreed.
I love it. Dead Boy
Agreed.
Detectives, says Ken Pham.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love undead spirits like ghosts and things like that because they can be characters, but they can also be plots in and of
Mhm.
themselves. Where
Yes.
Ooh,
there's a
yeah.
reason this ghost is here, and dealing with it that could be an adventure all by itself. Just figuring out why it's bound here, what its unfinished business is,
Mhm.
ways to exercise it. If maybe the ghost is lashing out and is actually the victim, and you learn that through the course of the investigation. There's a ton of fun opportunities there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because ghosts often don't communicate especially well. If you don't have a character who happens to be able to speak to spirits, it can often be just that sort of poltergeist phenomenon, or weird visions or disturbing dreams, or things like that, as the ghost is trying to convey whatever it is that's unfinished business consists of.
Right. Now, I'm thinking of there are ghosts that are just individual ghosts, but then there are also these spirits that are sort of almost there are multiples of them, right? Like they kind of spawn. I'm thinking of in particular like this. It's called this. I think it's the Shirami. It basically means butt eye,
Mhm.
and it's like a Japanese ghost that flashes its butt at you, but it's actually an eye. It just scares you. That's all it does, and then it
Mhm.
scampers away. And there are multiples of these. How do you account for do you generally lean towards the spirit or the undead that are the individual storyline, or is there I almost want to say races of sort of like these spirit animals?
Well, there are classes of
Oh, cool, sure,
undead
okay.
and ghosts and things like that, as far as that goes. To be
Cute.
sure.
Rebel Moose says Ghostbusters M&M campaign.
Yeah,
I like the
Yeah,
sound of
that
that.
would be fun.
potentially. I mean, you have the ghosts that are more just sort of haunts or phenomena that are really just those disturbing or scary or creepy visions, that are more like spiritual video recordings. They
Mhm.
just sort of repeat over and over again. At this particular time, on this particular night, this ghost is seen walking down this hall and standing at that window. But there's really no interaction beyond that. It's just sort of a phenomenon that appears. and that can still, like Alex says, point to useful or important clues about a mystery or something like that. Why that window? Why this night? And so forth. And then there are the ghosts that are much more like free will beings, that still may be tied to their particular haunts or their particular motivations, but they are much more like fully fledged characters with their own abilities and their own goals and all of that.
We do have a couple of great questions here. One, Squire says, what's a good way you found to incorporate the Spookums into a normal hero game when it comes to a supernatural campaign? The heroes are already equipped for it, but for other hero types?
I think communicating in advance that it's going to be a weird step away from the normal status quo with the players in advance, or finding a way to use the tropes of the spook, the haunted, the undead stuff in a way that ties in with their usual, what they usually get up to. Sort of like if they're usually a science fiction based superhero team, maybe the ghosts are glitches in an AI that they've been trapped in, or maybe it's a Scooby-Doo villain situation where it's all smoke and mirrors and they still have the experience of that haunted feeling without breaking the immersion for them, because there is a logical explanation for what's happening. Steve, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think you can also occasionally rely on a supporting character who provides the necessary knowledge the characters may lack. They might have an occult expert of some kind who's got the ranks and expertise to help fill in the important information, but otherwise doesn't have the abilities to take on these supernatural threats. So they can provide things for the characters to do, or options and suggestions of saying, hey, if you do this ritual or you go and do this thing, you may have a chance of dealing with this problem.
Yeah, I do like that a lot because it also deepens the world. It shows what's happening that the heroes don't notice or aren't a part of. Yeah, I really like it if that person brings the thing to them, because they can be really snooty about it. Like, I usually handle all of this stuff, but this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
Right.
Thomas Reimer or John Constantine.
Yep, for example. And it's just like giving the team a technical expert for, a scientific or technical problem in the same way.
I'm really surprised as to how many people know about the vinegar ghost. Everybody's very, very in tune with that. I'm surprised.
It was a fairly well-known D&D monster at one time. Fiend Folio, which probably how a lot of people learned about it.
That makes sense. Gene's got a good question. How do you make Undead fit Silver Age or Golden Age set games?
There's Undead all over the Silver Age and the Golden Age.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you don't have to do a whole lot of work. They're usually less menacing. As a rule, usually the Undead are more wondrous, or sort of thinking like Deadman, who is a ghost but is not scary in any way. He shows up and is a detective and still does normal superhero stuff. It's sort of just everybody they don't ignore it, but they accept it at face value and keep moving. Sort of, I've often found with the Silver Age and the Golden Age.
Pretty much, yeah, as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, Golden Age definitely has plenty of vengeful spirits return from the dead as superheroes. The Spectre being the prime example, and the Silver Age definitely has plenty of ghost, undead characters of one sort or another. So honestly, I'd incorporate them pretty much the way you would anything else. It's just like Alex says, the comics code style of the time tends to mean that the undead characters are going to be a little less creepy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Do you think Swamp Thing's undead?
Yeah, it depends on how you look at it, but sure. I mean, if Swamp Thing is a spirit animating a mass of vegetation, then some could say it's a kind of a ghost. Spirit, certainly elemental.
Yeah, here's a question. So, when thinking about how to resolve whatever the spectral or undead or whatever that situation may be, do you have there's always the notion that the zombie is slowly falling apart. Dracula needs to get into his coffin before the sun comes up, or those kind of mechanisms that sort of limit or drive them forward to do the things that they do. If you thought of like innovative ways, or have you ever introduced innovative ways that people can polter, like, sort of, what do they call that when you banish a ghost? They exorcists.
Usually exercise, right, or lay it to rest.
Right.
Banished.
So aside from that, sort of like you've brought the bones to the, to the altar or whatever, and and all as well. What other mechanisms can you introduce that that would kind of change it up a bit?
Yeah, it lends itself really well to gamification, I find.
Yes.
It gives you built-in, like, these are the steps they have to accomplish, and you have a lot of free range for creativity for that. So,
Indeed.
For instance, if you wanted to lay the rest to the vengeful spirit of a gravy-based Sasquatch, you could go forth and make a circle of cornmeal and put a blessed gravy boat in the center of it.
A ladle,
Yeah. You have to bring the bones. And then
There's a whole ritual.
Yeah, you have to emulsify the bones down into additional gravy and just.
Are we summoning the gravy squatch, or are we?
We're banishing the gravy squatch.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think that.
Back to the elemental plane of gravy.
Don't get those rituals confused, though.
That's true.
The great thing you can do with all of the lore that's around banishing or defeating undead in one way or another is there's so much of it, and so oftentimes some of it is contradictory, that you can get to decide what of it in your own campaign is true, what of it is just folklore. Sometimes it varies from one type of undead to the other. Sometimes it varies from one individual ghost or undead creature to the other. So you can definitely play around a lot with the, like, oh, circles of salt. Yeah, those don't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can really, it doesn't even have to be a ritual thing. You could really just solve the crime. Like, figure out who murdered them and put them in jail, or like, there's all sorts of different things you can do to put them at rest and at ease.
Right. Also, I'd imagine gamification could be sort of this approach to a large number of these zombies, as they often come in a pack. And let's see real quick. There was a great comment. Oh, first of all, David Bullock, you did not miss the squatchening. It's only just begun. The ritual has only just started.
Indeed.
And then Ramnapat says, isn't there something about seeing a zombie's mouth shut?
Sewing a zombie's mouth shut. Yes, that's one of the ways of supposedly destroying a zombie, although there are different versions of it. Some say you also have to fill the zombie's mouth with salt or communion wafers,
gravy,
or some sort of savory, liquid.
Nice.
Before you sew the mouth shut.
Right, exactly. Rebel Moose says, I can imagine the persuasion roll you'd have to make to convince a priest or religious figure to bless a gravy boat, especially if it has gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Holy gravy.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where those rituals could be interpreted in different ways. And it's is it a priest of a particular religion? Does the ghost or the undead actually have to believe in that religion?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, right.
Does it matter whether or not the priest actually believes this ritual works? Because you can just go through the motions of bless this thing, but does it matter? Like in Salem's Lot, whether or not the priest really believes that this ritual works.
Yeah, very interesting. Challenge sequences sounds like a really cool thing to put together.
Yeah, and it could be very dramatic and fun and particularly creepy. Ramapat says you could also use more than one creature of a similar type with slightly different weaknesses. I like that. A supernatural Legion of Doom.
Titan City is the kitchen sink approach to mythology. So everything is true, at least a little bit.
Right.
Born on you right on time, friend. Right on time. Let's see. Isn't communion wafer something you use on vampires?
Yep.
I mean,
there's a version of that for vampires too. After you cut their head off, you're supposed to stuff the mouth with communion wafers or garlic to stop them from coming back.
Throw them in a crock pot.
Right.
I like the New Orleans jazz funeral where you just take the coffin all over town to confuse the vampire.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. Yes, right. Yeah,
So the
I
spirit
like
can't
that.
come home. It's just like, I'm dizzy. I guess
Right.
I
I don't know where I am.
You know, Dracula, vampires in general are they're a great example of how many different competing, you know, sort of as you were saying, Steve, sort of contradictory things that vampires can do, can't do. I mean, you know, our latest big, you know, cultural phenomenon with vampires had them glittering in the sun. You know, like
Yep.
Vampires are interesting in
Yeah.
a superhero story, just because generally they're the top of the food chain in other games. Like they are very high, very powerful monsters figures, but in superhero stories, they're usually lower on the totem pole.
They can be, depending on how their powers are interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of it becomes, you know, questions of, can a vampire's fangs penetrate someone's invulnerable skin? You know, can they, what do they do with characters who don't have any blood to drink, as far as that goes?
You know, I'm looking. Temp brings up. Well, Nate says Wendigo is the vengeful spirit, redheaded drive-through worker that is out to find those. Oh, I get it. Yes, very funny. But also, Temp brings up the Onryo from Japanese horror. The Japanese folklore and their spirits is just one of the most
deep,
fertile. Yeah. There's so much going on there.
Just ghost stories in Asia in general is huge.
Yeah. There isn't there like a parade of the spirits kind of marching through the city streets, and if you look at them, then they entice you to become one of them. A real good precursor to where did my kid go, or where did my
that sound bad?
Yeah. Let's see. There's there's one story I heard of. This is Simon says, there's one story I heard of that links garlic to the dead. Basically, whenever an ancient warrior was injured in battle, they were fed a porridge containing strong smelling herbs. Sure. A great example of like having to, farming the past and finding inspiration for the future. But I would tread lightly too. I would make sure that you're not, dabbling in things that would be, offensive to a set of people. And really go ahead, Steve.
Borrow carefully from other people's cultures.
And know what your origins are of these particular stories. There are quite a few that are tropes that are kind of introduction of racist tropes into the spooky, scary kind of thing, and as a way to dehumanize people. But knowing more about that makes your whole situation much more fun and buttoned up. White Bride, Lady in White are so fun. Yeah, David Willock mentions.
Classic
I'm thinking of
story.
like, yeah.
I've been haunted by one of those. They're not fun.
In real life?
So my wife and I went on a ghost hunt in Columbus, and there's a place called the Boathouse that has a famous bride who was left at the altar who jumped into the Scioto River and drowned.
Oh.
And now she lingers there, and if you're a man who is not fit for your partner, she comes and torments you.
Oh.
Just by like it was sort of like a crushing heart sensation is what I was feeling while I was there, and I had to.
What did you do?
I left very quickly.
No, I mean before that.
Be the thing to do.
Yeah, to catch the ire of this.
I wish I knew.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just ask this question. I mean, do you two believe in ghosts?
I think that there's something to the phenomenon that people experience with ghosts, but I don't pretend to know what it is.
It's a great question. I fall in that same category. Something clearly people experience a thing that is intense and is repeated through time.
So that energy cannot be destroyed. And there is great power in the perception and imagination of human beings to leave an impact on places.
Indeed.
Yes, Raymond says.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just like Alex was saying, that that also leaves a lot of room for interpretation in terms of what actually ghosts or other undead things are. Maybe in the context of some Mutants and Masterminds campaigns or some characters, a ghost is just a psychic projection that doesn't have a body. For characters who have the ability to astral project or otherwise separate their psychic self from their body, maybe ghosts are a more of a psychic or psionic phenomenon than they are supernatural per se. Or maybe that's just true of some ghosts, and other ghosts actually are supernatural. There are plenty of cultures that believe that there are multiple souls, or that the soul has multiple parts, and maybe some of those parts hang around. Some of them go on to whatever version of their afterlife exists, or the like. And there are all kinds of possibilities where that's concerned.
I like that. Speaking of multiple parts, we're doing a giveaway. And that giveaway,
yes,
we have got our friends at Roll20 bundled up some stuff for us. And I'm going to share the screen. Let's see if it works. But we're giving away 3 things out of the Roll20 store. We're giving away the Astonishing Adventures Bike Club, the Shadow Academy character pack, and the Night Watch character pack. And
nice.
Really awesome. Hang on one second. Bundle. Yeah, it's really, it's awesome. And what's interesting, Roll20 didn't used to kind of do these sort of things, and they have recently introduced it. So I'm very excited about that. Let me get to the very important.
Their merger with Drive-Thru has opened up a lot of options for Roll20.
Yeah, it has. So to get in on this, all you need to do is drop hashtag. Come on, show. There we go. Dry skeleton. Put that in the chat right now. And we will monitor the entries.
Entered in our drawing.
Our drawing.
Yes. Just again, that's hashtag dry skeleton.
My New England accent comes up.
And you will be entered in, and we will draw a name. And I think I don't know how many I've got. But nice, look at that. Is a living person a wet skeleton? I'm not sure they need to be living.
Yeah, well, Pooch, you and Alex are vibing.
Yeah.
Right? That was Alex's whole thing.
That doesn't presuppose they're alive.
Look, right now my skeleton is wet. I know that.
Right.
And if my skeleton ever becomes dry, I know I am in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be a bad thing for you.
That is a good thing to go to the hospital for, I imagine.
Absolutely. I was going to say earlier, Temp shared, it's the night parade of 100 demons. It's a particular phenomenon referring to a mass congregation of yaokai.
Indeed.
I on my as a hobby, I do a podcast about sumo, and my Japanese is not it's actually gotten worse. Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad. Okay, so it looks like we've got 10 entries. Why don't we draw one?
All right.
Ready? Winner is wow.
It's our own Raymond who came up with this very topic.
Raymond, it's your day, friend. It is your day. Congratulations. Oh my goodness, what's happened here? Oh, we've got Nate Robbins has given us a $2 tip and has said hashtag dry skeleton. That's great. Nate, if you would just keep doing that 1,000,000 times, it would be very much appreciated. All right, I'm going to draw again.
Attempt to, influence the random AI judge.
That's right, with some money. All right, so if you want to get in on it, do your hashtag dry skeleton. We're going to draw from the same pool, so if you've already done it once, you don't have to do it again. And ready, or at least I don't think. But here we go.
How many do we have?
It is Rebel Moose. Nice.
All right.
We have, I think I have like 5 or 6. Definitely 6, maybe 6 or 7.
I love
But
that.
nice. For those of you who were curious about what it is that you're getting, it is this Night Watch bundle. Basically, you get the Night Watch character pack, you get the Shadow Academy character pack, and then you get the Mutants and Masterminds Astonishing Adventures Fight Club, which is exciting. And should we do one more?
I think we should.
Yeah, I feel like it. I feel like we should.
Spin that wheel.
If you're not in on it,
footage.
What was that?
So roll that beautiful bean footage.
Hey, Ron with Pat. Nice. Awesome.
Ron with Pat.
Very, very nice. Well, congratulations to the 3 winners. We'll do another round of giveaways towards the end of the program. But back to let's talk about ghosts.
Right.
Yeah, congrats.
I do want to talk about one of my favorite tropes with Undead is when somebody thinks they know what's up and they're very wrong.
Yes. Easy to do, too.
I love a charlatan. I love a charlatan who pretends to be an expert and then gets called out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like we were saying earlier, so much of the undead lore in the setting, may or may not be true. And somebody who thinks that they're an expert may actually not know what they're talking about in this particular instance, especially if they mistake one type of undead for another, which is also pretty easy to do. Beyond there just being incorporeal and corporeal undead, oftentimes it's pretty hard to tell the difference between, say, a vampire and a revenant, as far as that goes. There are definitely a lot of possibilities there.
Hey, so real quick, just as an aside, winners, send a note to let'splayagreenorneen.com and we'll verify that it's you and then give you a code. And you can go over to Roll20. There's just a little drop down. You just click redeem a code and voila. Yeah, interesting. So in the hierarchy of there's a couple people who are asking about hierarchy of the undead.
Sure.
So what is the sort of typical standard measurement?
That's a fun bit of world building for you to do.
Yeah, certainly, lots of role-playing games, especially games like D&D, have sort of built out this notion that there are low-level undead and high-level undead, essentially. And certainly there are definitely going to be different undead creatures that have higher or lower power levels in Mutants and Masterminds terms, so far as that goes. Typically, it puts the fairly mindless corporeal undead at the bottom tier, things that are basically just, animated corpses or animated skeletons that are little more than necrobots, that just go around doing, their creator's will. So far as that goes, they tend to be kind of the classic undead minions. And then you get the, sort of low-powered, free-willed undead in there, sort of the lesser revenants and sort of the ghouls and other, sorts of, like the intelligent zombies and things like that, that are, benefit from a lot of the undead resistances and invulnerabilities, but don't have a lot of other powers to speak of. And then you get into the really powerful undead that have all kinds of supernatural powers and can do all kinds of things, like, the powerful vampires and undead sorcerers and, powerful ghosts and specters and things like that.
Yeah, my notion for Mutants and Masterminds is if it's not a necrobot, it should be handled on an individual basis.
Yeah, generally speaking, I agree.
You don't want canned undead very much in a superhero setting. Every one of them should be very unique and have some sort of flair and interesting bit to bring to the story, whether they're super powerful or not.
Yep.
All right, we've got a couple interesting questions here. First of all, Ken, you probably already had to leave, but farewell, friend. We shall continue our spooky comment and our spooky commentary, and we'll look forward to hearing your thoughts later. Let's see. There is okay. So this is interesting. it kind of reminds me of what we were talking about before, like expressions of sort of technology that we don't understand, looking sort of like, spookiness. But Angel asks,
Right.
is there nanotech zombies and necromancy zombies?
Could be.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's definitely possible. Never know.
There are plenty of zombie stories that involve some kind of run amok technology rather than magic or the supernatural per se.
A real great
So,
inspiration for that is the Animatrix. There's one cartoon where they kind of show that there's something really weird happening in this little area, and in places where the Matrix is sorting out. But yeah. Well, and here's the other thing to Angel is that everything that Alex and Steve says becomes law. It becomes canon, and everybody must conform to those strictures, or you're going to get in some real trouble.
Please allow the golden rule to be you. Do whatever is fun for your game and your friends.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. Absolutely. Now, I'm not super familiar with The Last of Us. That is, I missed that. I've heard lots of great things about it. Cordyceps.
They're fungi. Yeah, they're mushrooms that turn you into a mindless ravening monster.
Yeah, vaguely based on the real world fungus that actually does that to ants.
Yeah, that is yuck.
And it brings up the one of the sort of subgenres of undead is the notion of contagious undead. There are lots of various ways in which basically being killed by an undead or coming in contact with them essentially leads you to becoming one, and that tends to be one of those things that you have to handle kind of carefully in a Mutants and Masterminds game, because both on the just sort of level of how quickly that can get out of hand, and the degree of casualties that was going to result in, both for just the general populace as well as potentially the heroes, is one of those things you want to consider carefully. It's a big horror trope, but it doesn't often, unless you are specifically telling a very specific kind of horror story, doesn't often work really well with superheroes, or at least a regular superhero can be.
That's the kind of thing that quickly takes over the whole story.
Right. And you end up with sort of Marvel zombies. For example, which is exactly that trope. It's contagious zombies, that get, loose in the Marvel universe, and pretty much everybody's a zombie pretty soon.
Right. Hey, Craig's got a question about categorization. So Frankenstein's monster and flesh golems would be considered undead too, right?
By some, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess I never really thought about it, but yeah. I mean, Frankenstein's monster for sure.
Let me text Van Helsing. I'll ask him.
Built out of corpses, so lots of people would definitely call that undead.
Yeah. You could have some fun with that too. If you've got a Frankenstein's monster type, but it's somebody, a thing that's put together by a bunch of other people's things, could be imbued with all those people's spirit.
Rama Pat brings up the one loophole in the sort of contagion undead story, which is true of superhero stories in general, is as long as there is a reset button of some kind, where the heroes can undo everything that's happened, then you can just go nuts. And if you want to have a zombie contagion like take over North America, you can absolutely do that, as long as the heroes can find the magic thing that undoes it all at the end, so that the world isn't permanently scarred and traumatized. Then you're in good shape, and you can totally do that story.
It also works well as an Elseworld story, like a one-shot that you want to do, like for a special Halloween adventure or something like that.
Yes.
I love this. Dominic mentions this. Dominic says, I once heard a real interesting concept, a particularly efficiency-minded necromancer who tries to create as many kinds of undead from a single source: skeleton, flesh golem, blood monster, brain in a jar. Like that
Ghost.
Is ghost. Yeah, right. To me, that is also a very interesting thing. Like the quirk of the villain helping determine what the shape of the.
Our tradition of necromancy honors and uses all of the parts.
That's right.
We throw nothing away.
No, I
love that. Yeah. Let's see. Claude says, I played canon wrong once, and Alex came to my house and took my M&M books.
And his lunch money.
Yep.
And his lunch money. And his lunch meat. It was really weird.
That was when I had my beard, though, and my skateboard.
Yeah. Well, you were the not nice version of you.
You were
Let's see.
much more of a bad boy than Alex.
Yeah.
Angel asks, what archetype can a Frankenstein's monster player, character, or not can be?
I think the best to start off with would be Construct. If you're looking at the Deluxe Heroes Handbook, there's a great. I think there's even an Undead one built into there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would start Construct, potentially Powerhouse, depending on what kind of campaign you're running and what kind of sort of undead you're looking at. But
NPC is what I meant. Sorry.
DC's Solomon Grundy is a classic, sort of powerhouse Frankenstein type.
Yeah,
From
you could even do
Bizarro
Weapon
Land?
Master too, if you're thinking like Frankenstein, Agent of Shade.
Yes, indeed.
David says, we may defile the dead, but we do not disrespect them.
That's right.
I would never desecrate a corpse.
That was a Mirror Universe, Alex. Let's see. Gene mentions a ghost villain possessing people. Yeah.
Yep. Classic trope.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Of course creates all kinds of potential complications for the heroes if the ghost is possessing like one of their loved ones or an innocent person or a child. What do the heroes do about dealing with the ghost that doesn't harm the innocent person the ghost is using as a shield.
Wow. Hornetico brings up the fact that Simon brought up that RoboCop is the perfect undead technology. I had not even thought about that.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an extension of the whole Frankenstein notion. If somebody uses, putting, technology and cybernetics to bring you back from, being a corpse, are you really alive anymore?
Yeah, there's some really great discussion going on around the notion of, how to bring it back, and there was someone mentioned, I believe that was Ron Napat, like TV episodes where, killing off a character it's like, it's going to go back to normal, or it's, they're not really dead. It's just for the story there. Yeah. That, and then SC Marine says, I did play a D&D game years ago where we killed a vampire dragon by destroying its treasure hoard. Took a lot of fireballs and acid splashes. Yeah, kind of the phylactery kind of. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's see. Adventure Hook says, John, the hero group gets accidentally transported to a necro world where living organisms are monstrous and undead are the norm. The heroes are hunted as menaces by their undead counterparts.
Yep.
That'd be fun to see how the normal world would be, kind of play.
They're terrible living creatures that are warmer than their environment and have to consume things in order to sustain themselves.
They stinky,
clearly unnatural.
I like that. Yeah. And then Commando Solo says, you can also talk about multiverses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a reason why sooner or later all multiversal storylines hit on a zombie apocalypse story.
Right.
What If did it in its first season.
Yeah. It's a great excuse to kill all the characters you never get to normally as a GM.
Right. I like the way you're thinking, Alex. It's very Alex.
It's just like, here's what this could be like if you guys were fine with the little trauma. But it's a safe place to do it.
Right. Yeah. Make your mess over here. We'll leave the rest of we'll leave the real world intact. So David Bolak mentions, inversely, there's the dead man trope.
Yep.
Is that what is that trope?
A ghost who is free
basically
to become a superhero. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of a possessing ghost, Dead Man is a hero who does that.
I get it.
His main power is he's the ghost who goes around possessing people, and in order to work through their bodies to do things in the physical world. Otherwise, he's just an invisible, incorporeal spirit no one can see.
Right. I know the feeling. But also I want to say that I read that as sort of like, it's just it's a kind of trope, a dead man trope, but we're talking about a hero.
Ghost trope.
I get it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The only rule of multiverses in DC is that you got to blow up Captain Atom. This Claude. Yeah.
Or Thunderbolt if it's the Earth Prime universe.
Right.
Yeah, Rebel Muska's got their finger on something. Lots of stories can be improved with a non-canon zombie storyline. Look at Red Dead Redemption.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a
Truth.
great way to blow off some steam with it's a chance to explore some themes you don't usually get to explore in your regular campaign, and it's just fun. It is a fun story to just do for a couple of sessions and then get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Right. One of the unappreciated elements of Undead in a superhero setting is that, like robots, they're basically it's fairly guilt-free for the characters to simply destroy them, especially when it comes to the fairly mindless minion types. So it's a great opportunity for characters and their players to just cut loose, and not have to worry about killing innocent people. So especially for characters whose attacks involve a lot of things like stabby or sharp things, or fire or other sorts of attacks they have to normally be careful about. This is their opportunity to just go around beheading and destroying things. In fact, they may even be encouraged to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, SC Terran Marine says, and with some confidence, I might add, vampire werewolves can be created by a werewolf biting a vampire or a vampire biting a werewolf, but would that be two different things?
Depends.
I think it'd be two things.
If you decide it is in your setting, it absolutely is.
That's right.
That happens in Underworld?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, doesn't it? I think it does, yeah.
And
RC...
Again, that's one of those great ways you can play with the lore to make things interesting, and you can have the NPC expert be like, well, this is clearly an instance of a werewolf has been bitten by a vampire, because if this had been a vampire bit by a werewolf, it would be totally different.
That's right.
Conversely, I think Underworld would be a sick Mutants and Masterminds campaign set.
I think so too. I do too. I think it'd be great.
Just that sort of basing your whole campaign on the undead thing is that's an option when you're dealing with this stuff, is to go full in and make basically an urban fantasy story instead of a traditional superhero story.
Yeah,
I love that. RC mentions that he used a zombie virus to bring back a dead ally, Frankenstein style, to re-traumatize my players. Top 10 anime betrayals type moment for me.
Good.
Good. I like that. Okay, let's see. It's like punching Nazis. Everybody gets to. That's right, David.
It's one of those cool times Batman gets to use a sword on somebody.
All right. That's right. How powerful would you make a vampire necromancer, and what sort of abilities would it
have? Again, it would depend on the type of campaign I'm running. My thought with vampire necromancer is that feels like a big bad villain to me.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at standard power level 10, standard power level 10, I'd probably go power level 12 or 13. With a big fun magic array that does a bunch of cool things, maybe some weird steampunk style technology.
Yeah, obviously some minions or summon or something else that gives them all of their, just legion of undead minions.
Absolutely. Squire says, I'm still recovering from RC's betrayal. I like it.
Betrayal,
Craig,
plot development.
Tomato. Craig says, it brings up a good point, and we mentioned it, sort of touched on it. In at least one mythology, it was believed that werewolves who died became vampires. I mean, you can go in a lot of different directions, and I think
common belief in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, and I think that it's really, like, to Alex's point, it should be fun, and it should be engaging, and so change it up, do something brand new, and why stick to the standard issue kind of trope, mix and match. Let's see, the Cybermen and Doctor Who are essentially mass-produced cyborg Frankensteins, and use the law inverse ninja for how cool they are. Yeah. They are pretty cool. What are the angels? The weeping angels? What are those?
They're weird aliens, basically. Okay. They're not technically undead.
They're stressful is what they are.
Oh man, Alex, they give me the creep.
They're weird quantum aliens. Super creepy.
A great addition to the monster pantheon. I think.
Indeed. Indeed.
Let's see here. David Bullock says, seems like a world threat level dude to me.
Could be.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the scale that you're dealing with for, how big are vampires in your setting? Is this, are vampires sort of a holdout from a time before superheroes were commonplace, where they were very powerful in the 1800s, but as powered humans have come onto the scene, they've had to adapt?
Yep.
In which case you're probably looking at like power level 8 or 9, and the superheroes are more powerful just as a baseline. But
right,
it's a lot of world building on your part as a GM to determine, how does mythology fit into superpowered characters.
Like that. John's got a great reading recommendation for GMs who want to check out a comic where most of the heroes are also monsters or mad scientists. Check out Drew Edwards' Halloween Man or Lucy Chaplin Science Starlet comics.
Cool. Yep.
Oh, SC Terran Marine, they did. Vampire Nazis, City of Heroes did that. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Vampire Nazis have shown up in lots of places, or zombie Nazis, or various other undead, right, or all sorts of other undead Nazis.
David Bullock does bring up, I think, a very important topic. Now, serious talk, Banicula.
No Banicula. Yes.
I'm gonna make a Banicula stat block for Patreon. I just wrote a note about it.
Your garden carrots will never be safe.
No. Did Banicula just drain the color of the thing?
Yeah, they're just white and desiccated.
Like me.
I have a novel I'm working on right now where I have a vampire who was turned wrong, and he's a fruit bat vampire instead of a vampire bat vampire. So he has the fruit and vegetables in the post-apocalypse, which is really hard for him.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Fresh fruits could be hard to come by. It's probably easier if you could drink blood.
Yeah, he gets really excited when he runs into a watermelon patch.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah,
Count Duckula. We love Count Duckula.
And there's definitely a genre of treating, especially intelligent undead, as people with a condition, basically. As far as that goes, you get a lot of modern, vampire stories, especially, that just treat vampires as people with just an odd condition, but otherwise they're just as people as everybody else.
Yeah. Question on the Warren Bodies movie that was just zombie Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
really
right. Yeah, I did. I interviewed the author. Lives here in Washington, and really great, interesting guy. So here's a quick question. RC's asking, how would you stat a weeping angel type character? And then the follow up that's mine. How would you stat a Count Chocula?
I actually wouldn't stat the weeping angels as characters. They're a hazard, much more than anything else, because for the most part, with rare exceptions, you generally don't interact with them, and your interaction is basically limited to if you take your eyes off them long enough, they will essentially fling you through time, and you'll be lost unless you happen to have a time traveler who can go find you.
Yeah, right. That feels like a GM hero point if I ever saw.
Right. So it's really much more about a matter of strategy and necessary resistance checks to make sure you're not blinking or looking away, and figuring a way out of the situation, than it is about like fighting them per se, because they make it very clear that the weeping angels, when they're visible, are pretty invulnerable. And so there's really no point in trying to attack them. So I would tend to treat them as much more of a sort of a hazard than a set of characters.
I love creatures that are just a nuisance rather than a fight.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like the hands in Legend of Zelda that if they touch you, they just take you to the beginning of the dungeon, and it's irritating.
Sure.
I like that.
Comes in, steals your stuff.
Let's see. Angels mentions, I've been looking at World of Darkness lore. I looked at a book, The Midnight Circus. Oh, yeah, sure. And there is a lot of undead folks and magic beings working against their will. Yeah. Cursed to do the thing.
Sure.
That is a huge theme with the undead, is body autonomy and freedom of mind and free will. And it's definitely something you want to discuss with your players before you dive into that.
Yeah. to be sure.
Absolutely.
It makes for a lot of interesting storytelling, but make sure that that's what people are on board for.
Now
Right.
the question about Count Chocula, though, that seems to not have been answered. All right, well, we'll shelve that
Well,
one
it's a
for next
cartoon,
Halloween.
so
Fair enough.
Count Chocula is power level X.
What is Count Chocula's power anyway? Really, just being chocolatey?
Does he drink chocolate milk instead of blood?
one
I
would
think he
hope.
looks like. I think he likes it because it turns the milk chocolate, right?
I want to know if Count Von Count drinks Muppet blood.
Oh yeah, good question.
Do Muppets have blood?
Well, is it the blood that's in the hand that's keeping them sustaining their life?
Count Von Count feeds on puppeteers.
Well, that's getting pretty meta, but
That's
Is
existential.
Count Chocula only is his only power eating cereal?
could be. That's actually pretty great.
That's a good power.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it. Absolutely, but I just wondered, how do you get a paycheck?
Well, that is another question.
That
I guess
is
as
another
long as
question.
you're a spokes monster.
Fair enough. I see. He's parlaying his unique power. Listen, we've got more people with ideas and thoughts and making recommendations and suggestions, but we have zero time.
Yeah.
We're out of time. It happened
Do we
again,
have any more
friends.
drawings that we need to do?
You know what? I think we do, and I think we can do that. Let's see.
Kermit sucked Vincent Price's blood on the Muppet Show?
Yep. That's true. Well, he bit his neck at least.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, we have our last winner, Ron Mapat. And now, if you are joining us new, fresh into the conversation, you want to do a hashtag dry skeleton. Hashtag dry skeleton. Drop that in the chat now. Give you a couple seconds for my voice to
enter into our drawing.
Yeah.
While we're giving them a chance to enter in, do we want to start saying our goodbye stuff?
Yeah.
I think we ought to do that. Yeah. Goodbye. No, go ahead, Alex. Let's do it the way we always do it. Steve, what do you got cooking?
What's coming up? I am working on all things Valiant, and we've got all of this, exciting new stuff coming out for Roll20 with the Halloween themed Monster Mash adventure, and with the Night Watch, and with we've got another Roll20 thing that just dropped, if I'm remembering correctly, but now I don't remember what it is, which is terrible. So we've got lots of stuff coming folks' way.
Yeah, we do. Lots and lots. And Gene, just throwing in for good measure, I'd love to know your plans for Astonishing Adventures. Yeah. Gene's passionate about
Chrono
that.
Crisis, amongst other things.
Yeah, Chrono Crisis is what's up next. Well, after whatever happened to the next gen comes out, but Chrono Crisis is up next. And we talked about Event Horizon too. Event Horizon is on the horizon.
Yes,
on the horizon.
It is.
Alex, you, in addition to being freshly shorn in the beard region, you got a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah, I last week. Troy's got something coming up this week too, but last Wednesday I was a special guest on Mask and Mayhem, where I was murdered horribly by RC in public, which is great.
Okay.
I was killed by a Freddy Krueger-esque monster, which was awesome.
Frank,
near to my heart. And I started our new playthrough of Emerald City Nights with Rem Alternus and Gen Con TV.
Ooh, exciting.
That is a YouTube exclusive, and it's going to be edited down, so it's not going to be a full live stream. They're going to edit it down and put it into parts, and I'll let everybody know when it comes out. But they were really good characters, really good players.
Awesome.
We vibed. It was a lot of fun.
Anybody get to punch Lord Etheric?
So one of them. Okay, so all right. Story time.
Yeah.
One of them trusted me to give him his powers, which was so great for me. And his character was a member of a classic movie club. So I gave him noir powers. So he's able to move through shadows. He's able to turn people into silver screen characters. And Lord Etheric got turned into Steamboat Willie, Lord Etheric.
He must have loved that.
Yes. Lord Etheric hated it.
You will respect my dark authority.
Yeah, and
Hey, Angel.
he also has plot sense as one of his powers. He has a
Oh.
hard-boiled detective narrator who just tells him what to do sometimes. Yeah, it's a really cool character concept.
That is
Angel,
fun.
just you left you put an A in where one of the E's go, so I just want to make sure you know that I know it's kind of hard to see. I think if I go back, will it take me? I just don't want to ruin this, so I'm going to draw right now. And yeah, RC, when are we doing our thing? What is green? How is green running in there?
Because you typed in Angel, make sure you're dropping that.
Oh, I did. That's right. Well, I won. So guess what? I'm taking all the prizes. Nobody gets anything.
Actually, you're in there 3 times, Troy, because you're in there for YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook.
Oh, right. I don't. Oh, that's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's draw it again because I'm lousy with these things.
Reroll.
I get so many prizes. Don't pick us.
Doing the Vatican rag.
Well, now we're running out of prizes. I keep filling my pockets with all these sweet prizes.
Right. Taking it all home.
RC. Nice. And we ought to do another one just because. Hey, guess what? The greatest of the Rafikis have joined.
Excellent.
Good to see you, friend. It does feel a little rigged, doesn't it?
I think Troy, Commander Solo. Nice.
Nice. Very nice. Yep. So that in the 3 bonus minutes that you get, hey, winners, do me a favor. Do yourselves a favor, honestly. Send a note to letsplay@greenronin.com and we will I will distribute the codes to you post haste. I will be joining the Masks and Mayhem Horrorween 4 Field of Doom on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a blast. Watch us all get murdered, I presume.
I don't think that prize is going to buy you any mercy at all, Troy.
Yeah, I don't think so either. If anything, it'll
both of the characters I created.
Wow, yeah. Gentlemen, as always, a delight. A good conversation, lots to think about, and lots of I love the fact that our ethos is have fun with it.
Yeah,
don't mire yourself down with constraints. Unless it's canon that Alex and Steve say you cannot change, they will come to your house. They will steal your lunch meat and slap your
M&M books.
Your M&M books. That's right. All right, friends. Everybody, have a great rest of your week. Hey, pay attention to this Thursday. There's a bunch of new. Let's just say we've changed some stuff with the Thursday lineup, and it's very exciting. And I'm very stoked to introduce that to you. So I'll see you on Thursday. And with that, I say goodbye. Do you have something else, Alex? I'm sorry.
No, I was just piecing out.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.